Populating a satisfying science fiction world doesn't have to be hard. I'll teach you about step 3 in the Gravity Undone 5-step framework, creating your character. I'm Surrey from Gravity Undone. Are you trying to populate a science fiction story, a podcast, a screenplay, a short story, or a novel? It isn't easy creating convincing characters with the depth of involvement in your story that you need. That's why I created this easy-to-follow framework. Get your fingers ready over your keyboard because we're going to do some writing. This framework isn't going to tell you how to plot your story, but it will provide the groundwork and inspiration you need to be engaging. You'll find that once you've worked through my framework, you'll have more ideas for plot than you know what to do with. So let's get going. Each step of the 5-step framework will progress from the last, and by the end, you'll have a world, characters, conflict, and enough left over to keep your audience wanting more. This is step 3, create your characters. Imagine instantaneous travel is ubiquitous. Buildings and spaces span multiple geographies, star systems, and planets. Government boundaries are next to impossible to maintain, and society has largely become a network of peoples with shared philosophies rather than being defined by physical space. Parandrathru is an artificial intelligence that maintains and manages a space station and sits on the board of directors of a charity that seeks to protect a region of the planet Gaia Prime from development. There are times it is cool and mechanical, and times when it is warm and empathic, but never a time when it isn't able to incorporate its surroundings into its persona in some obvious way by making reference to distant and undisclosed cultures and idioms. A story doesn't work without characters, and yours will be a masterpiece. So now you must choose your 3 characters. This doesn't literally mean that you'll only have 3 characters in your story, but there will be 3 roles that you will fill. Your focal point gave your skeleton your foundation. Your answers to the big 3 questions inform the world in which your story takes place. And now this 3rd step will populate that world with the vital characters through which your audience will experience your grand vision. Characters serve to progress plot, carry the emotion, and cause or react to conflict. Your 3 characters will be pivotal in your plotting and will allow you to expose your world and ratchet up the tension. Are there literally only 3 characters? No. All 3 might be expressed within a single person, or there might be a group of people, say the crew of a starship. A character paints a personal image in the mind's eye of your audience. You've outlined how your focal point affects society and the institutions made by that society, so this character is the anthropomorphization of society. In my example, I used an AI with a shifting protean personality and radically diverse function. It is the interface between that society and your audience. Without having to use exposition, you can show how your focal point, instantaneous travel, has influenced society. Remember to show, don't tell. Your social character demonstrates the traits projected onto your story's society by your focal point. Through them, we come to understand how the world has become the way it has. Time to take some notes on how this character might portray the following. 1. Government. Is the character a rule follower or free-spirited? All about individual responsibility or ready for groups to take control? 2. Trade. Does this character value physical possessions or is their life virtual? 3. Commerce. Does your character even understand money, or are they living in a post-scarcity society? Do they consistently assess value or wait before judging? 4. Institutions. Do they belong to groups? What do they think of group membership? You have a society character. Now, build a character who epitomizes the individual. This character shows the reader how your focal point has influenced individuals in your world. Often this character is your protagonist. Your individual character carries with them the weight of all people trying to get by. She is the every woman who experiences the problems and enjoys the privileges your world has to offer. She is also the adventurer seeking to experience what she can. Jot down some notes now about how your individual character defines. 1. Place. Your character should demonstrate how people find their place in the world. 2. Friends. How do people find and keep friends? Your individual will catch up with friends and maybe lose one. What do they value? 3. Role. How is your character shaped by and reflective of the role society would have them play? 4. Social rules. Your individual character will hold dear certain unspoken rules that society enforces. What does this mean? This character embodies the future. If the individual character isn't your protagonist, this one surely is. They are the early adopter and the visionary. In step 2, you acted the part of the futurist and predicted where your focal point would lead. This character is living that path right now. In today's context, they are the character who thinks they are just always one step away from Google and genuinely feels connected by instant stories and Snapchats. Physical proximity and remote avatar interaction are one and the same. Think about how you interact with or regard a technology that has been with you since childhood, but to the older generation may still be new. Do you remember having to use a big book full of numbers and addresses to look up businesses and your friends' numbers? Everyone else in your world is still looking at the TV guide to see what movies are on Channel 10, while you're binging on Netflix. That's the future character. They show your audience how incorporating the focal point into the past tense will become the normal. Push the boundaries of this character. Don't restrict their personality like you would the social or the individual character. Write down right now at least 3 things that your future character thinks is old hat, and write down how they will do away with it. Your 3 characters provide the lens through which your world is demonstrated. They are each tied to an aspect of influence that your focal point has had. They can each be 3 literal individuals or objects or collectives. The mantle can be shared around and each personality can wear each of the hats at times. But by creating these 3 characters, one for society, one for individual, one for future, you will provide your audience with a connection to your world. In step 1, you chose a focal point. In step 2, you answered how that focal point has affected society, the individual, and the future. In this step, you've created a character for each of those perspectives. Now you're ready to leap into step 4 of the 5-step framework. With that one, you'll see how the first 3 steps start to really tie together. Let's get on it.